morning, everybody, and welcome to Board Game Breakfast. Chris and Wendy are not here today. They're on vacation. I'm going to be joined by Joey and Roy for the remainder of the breakfast. But before I got into that, I had some announcements about the Dice Tower channel as a whole. But before we do that, let's do something fun here, and let's start off with a contest. So this contest for Board Game Breakfast is sponsored by Pandasaurus Games, and it's for a very new, exciting, hot game that they have coming out called After Us. All right, so you want to win a copy of After Us. This is a deck building, engine building, programming game. It's like in the future, I guess, apes are now in charge of the world. And in fact, that's how you enter this contest. Just email us at contest@dicetower.com. In the subject line, put the word apes, A-P-E-S, because they're the ones who are surviving. And you have to arrange these cards in an assembly line, trying to complete frames that get you resources, points, and powers. This has been a very highly buzzed game, and After Us is now Pandasaurus is bringing it to the U.S. in August. So let's see if the apes can do better than the humans, I suppose. Anywho, so that's the contest for this week. I hope you win. Okay, so this is a distracting picture here of fairies. Let's pull that off. Pollen, I get whatever. Okay. Anyhow. Okay, so we're making some major changes here at the Dice Tower starting this week, starting today, and I thought I would talk to you all about them. And, well, I'm always trying to make the Dice Tower better. My goal, and I've made lots of changes at the Dice Tower over the years, and you can watch the history of the Dice Tower to see those changes. Most changes, I think, have been good, and most changes have been poorly received. Every change we've ever made has been poorly received. But I think a lot of them have been good. Some have been bad, and we've reversed some things. But one of the things that we've run into, an issue that we've run into at Dice Tower, is we're just getting overwhelmed. There's just a plethora of stuff going on here in between the conventions and the stuff. And even though I have a lot of staff and everything, the overhead has gotten quite high. And the main culprit for that is simply that we have too many videos on our channel. Now, I've always been proud of the number of videos we put out. We put out more videos than, well, almost all the other channels combined. And we have a lot of stuff for you to watch with thousands and thousands of videos for you to go back. But us putting up 8 to 9 videos a day just was not sustainable, especially since I'm in a good chunk of these. And so we also want to make these videos better. So what we're doing here, the change that we're making here at Dice Tower, is I'm going to be reducing the number of videos per day. Now, this is not going to seem like I'm really doing a big reduction because we're going down to like 4 or 5 videos a day rather than 8 or 9. Which is going to be a big reduction, but there's still going to be a lot of videos going up each week. So one of the reasons we're doing this is because I like to, again, make these videos better. I like us to do a better job on them. And so that's kind of the focus. To this end, though, because there's going to be fewer videos each week, I had to make some cuts. And so there's going to be some of our series that we have done that are no longer with us. And you'll see them. I'm just going to mention a few of them. I especially want to call out Teach to Teach and Design Notes. You'll see a few more design notes in the future because Ben Maddox has recorded those ahead. But Ben is an amazing interviewer and does a great job. And Matthew did a good job at teaching people how to teach games. But these are part of the things that we're doing to kind of, again, bring this down. We're also cutting some of the smaller reviews that we've done, but I'll come back to reviews later. Don't worry, we're still going to be reviewing games. Another big cut that we're doing is I'm cutting At the Table, which was the refurbished podcast, Dice Tower podcast, that Eric and I started interviewing people. And that is going to, me and Eric are going to be redoing this and turning it into a podcast only. Now, don't worry, Eric Summer will still be part of the video channel here. He'll still be doing things. In fact, you may see him show up on Breakfast or Smorgasbord in the future and still be doing videos for us. But I want to get back to my roots as doing just a podcast without having to worry about what people are watching and stuff. Just do a podcast, and we'll have some other surprises with that. I have some changes with that, and we'll be doing that in the future. And then a few of our shows like Favorite Game Friday and this show itself, Board Game Breakfast, will be going to every other week. We're going to have a lot of our shows doing every other week. Now, Board Game Breakfast is going to be run by Chris Yee. I'm handing this show over to him completely. again, I need some time to be able to do things myself and I have a lot of responsibilities at Dice Tower, and I want to be able to do a good job on things. So, lest this sound like it's a negative thing, we're not just cutting stuff. We got new shows that we're going to be doing. And there's also, by the way, I should mention, things are moving around. So for example, What's Happening at Z Does is now going to be on Tuesdays. There'll be a few things that move around, but most of the stuff is going to remain in the same place that it is. But we're going to have some new shows. So on Mondays, so today, Monday, you'll see the first one going up today is Catch-a-Paloozas. But Catch-a-Paloozas are going to change. We're going to be playing the game live today. And then when we're done, we're going to have the discussion right then and there after it's done about what people thought of it. You know, kind of a fresh off the cut. So some of us like the game. Where will it be? The new people, do they like it or not? So just straight up, these are not sponsored or anything. They're just going to be Catch-a-Paloozas. And then we'll also do We'll Play It Live. We haven't done those for a while. Bring it back where we just pull a game off the shelf or games off the shelf. And if they're good, they're good. And if they're bad, they're bad. We'll have to wait and see. We're also going to be moving unboxings back to this channel, but we're going to do so in a different way. So just each week here on the channel, there'll be a couple unboxings. These will be some bigger, like a couple games being unboxed in the same video. There'll be a couple of those. You might say, well, what's happening in Dice Tower Unboxings? Well, if you've noticed, I've already changed the name of Dice Tower Unboxings to Dice Tower Encore. Dice Tower Encore is going to be a secondary channel for us, and it's going to fill in a hole of something I want to do. See, what we're doing now is we're going to, something I started a year ago and I'm very happy with, is we started doing more reviews as group efforts. So coming in, bringing more voices in, I think that's a better review. It really helps. But I also like having the smaller reviews and having people talk about games, because we talk about games a lot of people don't talk about. So I want to have my cake and eat it too. So this is what we're doing. Each week we're going to have 6 big reviews. Starting on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there'll be one big review go up that week. There might be other smaller reviews done by some of the contributors here in between. But we're also still doing the roundups of games. In fact, I'm doing one of those this week. We're going to take those roundups and then we're chopping them up and sticking them on the Encore channel. So that way, if, let's say, Roy goes through like 6 games and talks about how much he likes War of the Ring as a small review in that game, that will then be put on the Board Game Geek page so that those reviews are still able to find, or if you're just looking for a real quick, this is what this game's about type thing. And so we're working on that in mind. And if we have other videos or extra unboxings or some odd stuff, that will also show up on Dice Tower Encore channel. We still have the news at Dice Tower Digest. That podcast is still going on. So keep that in mind if you're looking for news. But our big shows here will still be going on. We'll still be doing a top 10 every other week. And the other week we'll be doing either a party game or doing a little bit of role playing, which is one of the things that was in our Kickstarter promises. And we still have crowd surfing will be every Wednesday. Board Game Smorgasbord every Thursday morning. And other things will happen on the channel as time goes by. So I ask as you look at this, so please be kind to us in this phrase, because whenever we do a change, people say, I don't like this change. But also be kind, because as we cancel these different shows, you'll be like, I missed that show. It's my favorite show. It's the only show I ever watched. I would rather you look at it as a celebration of the show and say, I enjoyed the show, because then you make everyone feel bad their stuff's not on as much anymore. But we're still going to be on here. We still have a lot of people here at Dice Tower. We're still working. As I was getting ready for this week with fewer videos, I didn't feel like I was doing any less work. We still have a lot of stuff to do, but like I said, we want to make stuff better. I don't like canceling shows and pulling things out, but I have to make cuts. It just has to be done at some point. And so we want to make the channel also one that people can subscribe to. People can subscribe to the channel, but if you're getting 8 to 9 videos a day, that can be overwhelming. You still might think 4 to 5 videos a day is too much, and I get that, but hopefully this will make things better. So that's the changes that are coming to the Dice Tower, but I still hope you enjoyed them. Like I said, all this stuff is happening this week. Let me tell you a bit about things coming this week. I already mentioned what's happening tomorrow. Today, later on, the Catch-a-Palooza is going to be near and far. We got a couple people here who have never played it. And then on Thursday, we have a video that we've already recorded, a top 10 with me, Mike, and Z, talking about the top 10 games we wish we had when we were teenagers. This list has already been done by the other folks at the Dice Tower. This is our version of it, so that's coming out on Thursday. We also have some pretty big games we're taking a look at this week. World Wonders coming out on Sunday. I'm very excited about this upcoming game from Arcane Wonders. That's going to be at Gen Con. You're going to enjoy that. Expeditions, the new Stonemaier game, that's going up tomorrow. Wild Tiled West, and a few other games are coming out this week. We have different reviews, and I'm really excited for you guys to see these. So anyway, that's some of the changes. That's some of the upcoming things that we have this week. And I hope that you enjoyed them. And I want us to be a better, cohesive, higher quality Dice Tower. So there you go. All right, well, that's enough from me. Let's get started here with breakfast.
Hello everyone, I'm Stella.
And I'm Tarrant from Maple University.
And the Dice Tower. I can read your mind, Tarrant.
Our experience at this game does
not really the
suggest
best.
That's true.
Yes, that's actually true. So sometimes I do, but I still think you are my soulmates.
Indeed. Thank you very much.
This is the Mind Soulmates. This is the new release after the Mind and the Mind Extreme. So the Mind, you work together, you trying to put the cards
In the correct
sync.
order.
Yes, of number. And then the Mind Extreme, there's some face up and some face down. And we have soulmates.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think it's ever, maybe not ever, but it's a real case of a game where I read the rules and it's like, all right, well, this is just another version of the Mind. It's just the same thing again. But it changes the game up so very much, and it turns it changes it from the basic Mind, which is just trying to be in sync with how long it takes between numbers, to something which is more of a deduction game.
Yeah,
you play the cards face down, and you take multiple attempts at each scenario, seeing more numbers each time until you get it right.
And once it's a seer, the seer tells people whether they 1 or 2, or depending on the levels, 1 to 12, and it's just really fun. I think this is my favorite now, my new favorite.
Yeah, it is I would say it's my favorite as well, and I would say of the Mind games, and I think it is a really clever twist, but makes it feel like an entirely new game.
Have you played the Mind? Let us know which one's your favorite between the two, or maybe you have played this one. That's it. Thanks for watching.
I did.
All right, today we're taking a look at Fearsome Fours. Have either of you played this?
No!
I have.
I'm too scared.
I do like this game, actually.
Oh, thought you would say no. This would be another Catch-A-Palooza. This should be a
What?
Catch-A-Palooza.
I haven't played this game. What? Tell me about this game.
How have you played this game? This is an old game, and you look young.
Because it's got Frankenstein on it. I bought it more recently.
Oh, gotcha.
So Fearsome Fours, Roy, I think you might like this. This is a game in which there's like a whole bunch of people in a house, and there's a monster chasing you around.
Gotcha.
But he's programmed movement in a sense that he will always, like whoever he sees, he will chase that person. But every time he takes a step, if anyone is closer on the right or left, he turns towards them.
Gotcha.
So, and all your characters, you have 2 numbers on each side. One is a 1 on one side, a 1 and a 6, a 2 and a 5, and a 3 and a 4. So you move that many spaces and you flip them over. And so you're just all running in different directions, and he's chasing people. And in fact, you can try to get someone else killed. So I might move a guy over here, like 4 spaces away. So he's running towards Joey's character, and he sees me, so he turns and he moves 1 space this direction, and then you're right there, and then he gets you.
Do you know how many spaces he's about to move, or?
You're not sure. You turn over a tile, and it would be somewhere from
Gotcha.
like 7 to 11.
Oh, gotcha.
So the game has 2 halves. In the first half of the game, every time you get somebody, they reset, and you got to go back to the start. Everyone's running for this door to get out. But once a couple people get out or something, at that point, he just starts killing people.
Violence.
It's pretty fun. It's also, kids would like it too. That's why we got it, because eventually, I mean, she hasn't played it yet, but I think she would like it. It's simple, but it's a fun game. I enjoy it.
I've heard about this talked like a ton. I know you used to talk about it on the podcast like forever ago, but I haven't heard people talk about it too much recently, but I know it's one of his more well-regarded games.
There's a couple, like, it's really silly. There's this monster you can build, and you can build it any way you want. They have like 4 heads and arms and
that's cool.
stuff.
Yeah.
You can even stick a head on as an arm or whatever. And it definitely has some very old
Mechanics?
vibes to it. Like the different
Yeah.
people. So one person has the football team and cheerleaders. The
very
3
campy,
investigators are in it, which is a very old callback.
Yeah, I don't like the box size on this, to be honest, because it just looks out of place anywhere I put it.
Well, I just put it with all the other Friedman Freeze box sizes. They're all the same
Okay,
size.
that makes sense then.
The only problem with the game, you can really, really AP it. Analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
Because you sit there and move and you think, okay, if he moves this direction, then he'll go here and here.
The randomness of like the movement doesn't help that, you know, because if you
Well, the
don't know
movement-
how far he's going to go, then
You don't know how far he's going to go, but you do know he's going to go at least like 7, for example. So you think, okay, if he moves here,
Right.
you'll see him, and then he'll go this way. So I'll
Gotcha.
move here.
And can't he leave one side and come in another side too?
Yes, he can like show up.
Oh,
somewhere.
so
That's
they
the
can
hardest thing, because
Pac-Man
you're
it?
like, oh, wait a second. I'm away from him, all of a sudden he's right next to me. That's what's pretty interesting.
And one of the movements is he will go till he gets somebody.
Yes, that's brutal, because he'll just zigzag and, yeah, you have to do the math on, I just want you to move in front of me.
there you go.
You know, you just have to move, you have to run faster than the other guy.
I gave it a 7.5. I like it. It's definitely one. Yeah, I pulled out once in a while. I think it'd be fun for kids.
20 years old. I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
we're old. But I called my dad yesterday for Father's Day, and he. Oh, by the way, happy Father's Day to all fathers, and happy Juneteenth. Should mention both those holidays. It's a
Yes.
holiday-filled weekend.
It is very much
But when I
so.
called my father and talked to him, I felt less old.
That's a good way to do it.
I did.
I'm sure he likes seeing that.
Yeah, thanks, Dad. All right, let's move on.
In this segment, we take a look at a board game based on an IP, and I tell you if that board game and the IP mesh well and whether you should play it or not. Today, we're going to be looking at the Big Trouble in Little China expansion, Legacy of Lo Pan. So what's interesting about this game is that it jumps off the movie. This is no longer set in the movie, although it has all the characters. It's like a new little story that you can go through. This was some content that was in a deluxe box set that they re-released for everybody else to have. This is a really cool expansion. You can wait until you go through all Big Trouble in Little China. So this won't mix in necessarily with the base game. Like I said, this is really another campaign. It has the big bad from the movie inside of it. So it's probably something you're going to want to get. I had a really good time with this one, going through the campaign and going through the time travel. I thought that was really cool. So this one was like a really good extra content. Not so much an upgrade, but extra content. And you really want to go against Lo Pan, so that's going to be really, if you're into this, this is the guy you want to go after, so this is going to be a must-buy after a certain amount of time. It's going to go through a new adventure with the characters from the movie, traveling through time, and with a final showdown against Lo Pan himself. So, what works in this one? Everything. This is really, really good. They change up a couple of the mechanisms with the time travel, and they add a couple things that are very interesting, but it gives you a different feel than the base game. In addition, you get an exciting new adventure that feels new and fresh because it's not necessarily based on the movie. So how does that fit with the IP? I think it fits fine. I think it fits really well because you're still getting all the characters from the movie. Everybody acts like they would, but it's just a new adventure created for the board game. So if you're a fan of Big Trouble in Little China, this is something I would tell you to absolutely track down, add to your game, because this is a plus for me. Great expansion, and this is what I want to see. A new adventure. Give me more stuff. This is a keeper.
Hey, I'm Jordan. Let's talk about a weeknight game. This is Evergreen. This is the follow-up, I suppose. I mean, it's kind of it's same designer as Photosynthesis. It's kind of an iteration on that Photosynthesis system. It does feel like a different game, but there's a lot of the same DNA between the two games. Photosynthesis, if you guys, if you remember, if you played it recently, it is a game in which you're growing trees from seeds on this shared player board, and the sun is rotating around the edge of the board. And depending on where the sun is, it's going to cast light onto the trees, and you're going to score points depending on where your trees are. But taller trees block other trees, and so there's that. It wasn't really meanness, but it was a lot of interactivity between the players in where you're planting those trees and how they're growing. This one negates a lot of that, the interactivity there and some of that meanness by having all of the players have their own boards. So everybody's going to have this, recessed board, which is fantastic. Dual layer boards are great. And you're going to be planting your trees on these boards instead, and the sun is still going to move around. You're going to score depending on where the light is landing. This one has, the core of it is actually rooted in a, rooted trees. This one is actually set in a card drafting system. So at the beginning of each round, you're going to be drafting these cards that have different biomes, different landscapes, I guess, if you will, and a different action on them. And so as you're taking these actions, that card is going to dictate which section of the board you can do, and then you can take an additional action each turn. I think Evergreen improves on photosynthesis in almost every single way. I really enjoy Evergreen from Horrible Guild. I'm Jordan. Thanks. So we're starting to pack up the Dice Tower library, but fortunately we haven't packed this shelf up yet.
Oh,
We're packing it a little bit at a time. We packed up 7 shelves full of games. You managed to not be
all
here
happened
on
on
that
Friday
day.
was like
Ta-da!
tape, box, shrink wrap.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot going on with that. But yeah, so that's going to continue. This may be the very last best of the shelf for a while. We'll see.
Ever.
Anyway, so let's take a look at this very bottom shelf. Okay, we're taking a look at shelf 20E, which is really a hodgepodge of games. You'll see. I mean, first we have these Haba games here. Karuba, which is probably the most famous of the Haba games about, kind of putting paths in a row. But we also have Honga. I don't think I played Honga. Miyaga and Maya. Well, Maya is actually not one. It looks just like one of the Haba ones. This is actually a White Goblin style game. So all 4 of those. The Trade in a Tigress. This is a game that was made as a joke about Maya being against trading in the Mediterranean, but this is actually a game about trading in the Mediterranean, and it's quite good. It's all about trading and moving up tracks. If you've never played it, it's certainly an interesting one to try. Chimera Station is a game about workers that when you place your worker placement, in this game, the type of worker, and you can build the workers. They have different parts. Morocco, trading game of trading spices and such. Arkham Horror, the card game. Keeping It Saxy, signed by Kenny G himself. The Princess Bride adventure book game. I guess I didn't keep the other adventure book games. This is the only one in the library, but it's worth trying. Toy Story, Obstacles and Adventures. This is a follow-up to the Harry Potter deck building game, and I think this one's even better. Of course, I like Toy Stories better. A Kid in a Shuffle. This is a game from What's a Plague about moving these little cute echidnas around. Call to Adventure, I have 2 versions of it. The normal Call to Adventure and the Stormlight Archive, because I love that series of books. And Cryo, a game about crash landing on a planet and then using worker placement to get either underneath and survive, and using drones and stuff to move around. There's a lot of interesting ideas in it. I don't know. I think I know what Roy's favorite on that shelf is. I don't know what your favorite is. My favorite is Chimera Station. I like worker placement games, and I think the idea of customizing... You've not played this one, I'm sure.
No.
Most people haven't. So you have these little aliens that you put out, but you can add pieces to them. So, like, for example, there's these green aliens that don't need to eat. So if I add a green piece to my worker, I no longer have to feed him. I don't know what he's doing. And some give you victory points when you go to spots. It's a good worker placement game. Roy, yours is probably the last one, right?
Actually, it's the one right in the middle, Arkham Horror, the card game.
Oh, right. I was thinking it was Cryo, but you're right.
I really love Cryo. We're going to talk about it in a second, but Arkham Horror, the card game, is just so good. I mean, that's just the base set, I think, pretty much for the game, but I still really enjoy the mechanics of the game, going around exploring. It's amazing how much story they can fit into just like a card game as you're playing through. Lots of surprises in Arkham Horror, the card games.
That's a very weird place for me to put it.
I know, for sure.
Too.
Right beside Keeping It Sexy.
I know.
Is that your favorite?
Keeping It Sexy is my favorite. No, it's not. It's not at all. I will say it is Arkham Horror, the card game. I did like Princess Bride. It's a 1 playthrough with a family for 2 hours. It's enjoyable. But Arkham Horror, the card game, that was pretty, it almost stands out in this shelf. You're going through, you're like, Huh. Oh. It's.
Why is that there? Oh, it's too late. The library's been
strange.
set in stone.
I do like it.
For Dice Tower East.
I do like cryo. I do think that I don't hear anybody talk about it anymore, but I definitely have had a lot of fun with it. That's one I like to teach at conventions to people, just about getting all your people from off of a frozen planet before it freezes underground, and you get points based on where you put it. It gives me like Alien Frontier vibes, but it's a
Really?
very different game.
I've never played that. Yeah, I like that. Call to Adventure I've not played either. That I do want to try.
That's about building a character up, sort of thing.
Like a role player style?
Yeah, basically you're like telling the story of your character. There's a lot of flipping runestones. It's an okay game. It's a more fun experience, and the artwork's fantastic.
That's what I was thinking. The cover looks great.
It's very light. Thank you, John, by the way, for a super chat.
Ooh, thanks, John.
Wait, Galactus is here. Marvel Zombies is almost here.
Oh no.
Yay!
Got to make room.
It's funny because I see people getting theirs, and then I look and I'm like, I painted that forever ago.
Yeah, we've had it.
It's like
we've had
such
it
a
for
long
year.
time ago.
That sounded very braggartish. We don't mean to be that way. Anyway, that's the best of the show. Let's keep going.
Hey, board gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back on the breakfast. This time talking about one of our favorite games from BGG Spring. It's Acropolis. Let's get right to the table and see what it's all about. What we're trying to do is draft these tiles that are coming out, and you're going to place them inside your city. But the trick is that you only score the tiles if you have the plazas, which have stars on them like these, multiplied by the number of tiles that have that color that match that scoring mechanic. It sounds thinky, but it's not. It's really a pretty simple game. Each one of the 5 districts works a little bit differently. The blue ones are just trying to get a nice blob of blues all connected, and you multiply those by the number of blue stars. The yellow ones are trying to be solitary, so they don't want to be next to any of the other yellow tiles. The red ones are the ones that are on the edges, and they want to have at least one open edge around them whenever the game is finished. The purple ones are a little bit trickier. It's like the opposite. Instead of having an open edge, they want to be completely surrounded. And then you've got the green tiles, and these are just scoring 1 point for every one you have in your tableau, multiplied by the number of green stars you have. But there's 2 twists to this game that make it amazing. So one is if you can get tiles lined up where you can bridge tiles and place another tile on top, now those tiles with those colors are worth a 2 value instead of 1. Also, the economy of this game is fantastic because you in order to grab the tiles closest to the stack of cubes here, those are free, and they're 1, 2, 3, and more as you go further away. And some of those tiles you're really going to want. How do you get those cubes? Well, by placing them on the white spaces here, the white tiles. By covering those up, for each one you cover, you're going to get a cube back. So that's a way to generate some engine. All right, that's Acropolis from Zizimic and designer Jules Massal. It's a fantastic little spatial puzzle for 1 and 4 players. We just can't stop playing it. Until next time, laissez le bon temps rouler.
For the last couple months, Joey has been whining about the Flash movie.
I
He's
have.
like, we gotta see it opening night. We gotta see Flash. We gotta see Flash. Tom, why don't you like Superman vs. Batman? I'm like, because it's a terrible movie. And stuff like that.
And I've been telling him, I read this article. He's like, stop reading articles before they come out.
Yeah, I try not to spoil stuff. There's gonna be minor spoilers in this review. Not big spoilers, but minor. Like, if you don't know anything about this movie, then don't watch this review because they can't without spoiling a few minor things. We're not gonna spoil the ending or anything. But first of all, going into this, realizing in our studio, Camilla's not. She thinks superhero stuff is okay.
Yeah.
The rest of us, I think to a T, are all pretty big Marvel fans.
Yep.
With one exception. Joey likes DC.
And Marvel.
Yeah, okay. But you like DC. And the DC movies have been pretty bad, except for Shazam. Shazam's they're good.
And the Snyder
Shazam
Cut
awesome.
Justice League.
No, it's not.
Chris
What
is
are you
all about the
talking about, the
Batman.
Snyder Cut Justice League? That's a terrible cut. How to take any joy that... I will agree it's more cohesive.
It is.
Because the original movie... But he also sucked all the joy out of the movie.
Well, that was a slow motion. He loves his slow motion.
He really does, and he also loves the Flash. The Flash movie. So the Flash movie is, if you saw the Justice League, you'll know, and if you saw the Justice League Snyder Cut,
Right.
you see that the Flash can reverse time or go back in time by running really fast.
Yes.
This has been a thing that they never really explained in the comics. He can just do it. He can do all kinds of stuff. If you're fast, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's true.
So this movie's about the fact that Flash's mom died as when he was a young kid, and the authorities think his father did it. This has been a pretty major Flash story. In the Warner Brothers had the same thing too, their version, and so he wants to fix that by going back in time. A pretty big character in this movie is Batman.
Yep.
Batman.
And
Yeah.
Batman.
Yeah, so unless you were on a rock, there's no question that there is multiple Batman in this movie. So it starts with the Ben Affleck Batman, but Michael Keaton's Batman shows up. And I think it's the Batman from the old
is.
Michael Keaton movies, but
The
it's not.
suit? Yeah.
Well, the suit in the car, which, by the way, is the best Batmobile ever
Okay.
made.
And that was in the commercial, so we're not spoiling anything. So,
Yes, again, we're not
the trailer.
spoiling anything. But the majority of the movie is his name Ezra
Miller?
Ezra
Yeah.
Miller. Is Ezra Miller and Ezra Miller. So if you do not like his acting, and I don't think his acting is particularly good, he is in this movie a lot.
And that is one thing, like, I love DC characters. I see that in the chat. So DC characters are great. Their movies have missed the mark a lot. Okay? Their TV series have been good. So Ezra, I think, did a good job in Justice League. But here, to do a monologue with yourself, talking to yourself, you've got to be a really good actor. I don't know if he's there,
Wow.
but there's a supporting cast around him. Michael Keaton is incredible.
Yes, he is. He's always good, though.
He's so good. And this actually the movie itself had some comedy, which is rare for DC to have.
Well, Shazam has a ton of it, but that's
Shazam.
why I like Shazam so much.
Yeah, Shazam's an
they make it
outlier
funny.
in that, you know?
There is a lot more comedic stuff, including the opening sequence, which I think is the most ridiculous scene I've ever seen in a superhero movie.
And you said it several times during the sequence.
I did. I don't think it was a moment where everyone was supposed to be laughing that loud, but I couldn't get over it because it was so dumb.
It was so over the top. It had to be tongue in cheek. It was that
Well,
bad.
obviously it was tongue in cheek.
But it was.
So the humor's good. I have a big negative though about the movie. I think the special effects were very noticeable.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like I kept thinking I'm seeing special effects and they're not amazing. Like there's a sequence at the end. There's a big battle scene. I thought the special effects were okay for that.
Right.
But the time travel stuff doesn't look good.
To where the director came out and said, hey, we meant to make it look kind of cheesy because he's in a time bubble. And you're kind of like, did you though? You know, because it's really, yeah, it is. It's distorted in a way that there's a couple of parts you're like, woof. It's been like 5 years since I've said, woof, green screen, you know, but.
Definitely
Wow.
green screen in
Yeah.
this one, yeah. And that opening action sequence, there was nonsense in that. I thought that.
It's off the wall.
I still can't believe how dumb that opening sequence was. Okay, but there's also a couple cameos. One I expected and thought, meh, and one I was not expecting and laughed a lot at.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was a good one. Do you think they got the idea from the Spider-Man multiverse?
Yes, it looks like they saw the Spider-Man multiverse and were like, let's do that, except it didn't have the build up to that.
Weird.
No, because I thought, is it one of those similar ideas like a Deep Impact Armageddon came out the same year, you know? But I think it's really too derivative because it's not bad. I like what they did with it, but Spider-Man No Way Home, that was the one, right? No, Multiverse, whatever it was. That I think did that version of it better.
That was such a good one.
It was really good.
And it was weird because, like I said about that Spider-Man movie, I think it retroactively made the old Spider-Man movies better.
Yes.
Right.
Like I think I'll go watch the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man now and enjoy it more.
That's crazy. Yeah.
It's weird.
They did such a good job.
This did not make me say I'll go back and watch the original Batman and like that better. I mean, I already liked it.
Right.
I mean, they're cheesy as all get out. Those three. Well, after the first one, they just kept going cheesier and cheesier. This is basically we're talking about the first one.
Right. The first Michael Keaton.
Mike Keaton was in the Penguin one too, right?
Yes.
So he was in the first two, and then Val Kilmer was in the third,
Who was fantastic.
and then George Clooney was in the fourth.
Yes.
He didn't say who was fantastic that time, if you noticed. Are you going to see this movie, Roy?
No. You guys aren't selling me on it.
It is. I like the movie a lot.
Watch it when it's streaming.
Okay, maybe.
It is. I think it's
Probably not.
really good.
Well, you saw Shazam's, right?
Yeah, but people all said Shazam was good. I don't have time.
I'm telling
when people
you,
are like,
this is
oh,
good.
it's okay. I don't have time for that.
6 out of 10 for me. What would you give it?
I would probably give it, I'll say 7.5 out of 10. Hey, but here's the problem. I went into it expecting all these quotes were like, this is the greatest thing DC's ever put out. This reboots them and all this. So I'm like, this is going to be incredible. Then a week or two before, people were like, that's not that good. I'm like, why are you doing this? Why are you lowering everyone's? And I started getting depressed to the point to where I'm like, I might have built this up too much in the office. And I might have built this up too much in the office. But I liked it. It was
No one
fun.
left disliking the movie. Z and Camille's enjoyed it. They were there too. And my wife enjoyed it. My son laughed a lot at a scene that I didn't think was that funny. But
there was a lot of laughing in this, a lot more than most DC movies. It's a funny movie. I liked it.
all right. Anyway, that's The Flash.
The Flash.
That was great.
Has Roy left?
Hey, board gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back on the breakfast. This time talking about one of our favorite games from BGG Spring. It's Acropolis. Let's get right to the table.
What is up? My name is Matthew McCack, and this is Smashing Buttons and Slamming Cards. This is a segment where I talk about a video game I love and I connect it to a board game I love. And before I get into that, I just want to let you all know that this will be my last video on Board Game Breakfast. I have loved doing this. I'm really sad to go, but thank you all so much for your support and viewership. And if you would like to continue watching some of my content, I do have a channel called Room 51 that I do with my brother, and it would mean so much to me if you went ahead, subscribed, and watched those videos as well. But without further ado, the video game that I will be talking about is Celeste. Celeste is a platformer type of game where you are playing as a trans character, actually. That is the main character of the game. And you're trying to climb this mountain and you're going through different levels, which are very difficult, but so satisfying when you beat them. The board game that I would like to connect this to is, well, it's really a card game. It's a game about whimsical creatures and trying to identify them after someone makes noises. That's the entire title of this game. Essentially what you do is you have these like monster cards out on the board, and one of you has like a number associated with some of these monster cards. And everybody else is gonna have their eyes closed while you, the person with the number, is going to try to make some sort of noise based on whichever monster you've been assigned. And then folks will open their eyes and kind of try to decide like, okay, what was the monster that you were trying to lead them towards? The main reason I am connecting these two is because both are designed by trans women, which is very cool. And I figured if this is going to be my last video, I might as well do something that's really important to me, because I'm also a trans person and I love seeing trans visibility and trans people just making games and trans characters in game. Anyway, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I'll catch you all some other place. Thank you.
And that's it for another Board Game Breakfast. Join us again in 2 weeks when Chris reboots. Actually, it's I think 3 weeks because the Dice Diary is 3 weeks when Chris reboots the whole system. We'll be live again today with Catchapalooza Near and Far. And then tomorrow we got What's Happening. And then Wednesday, live, we have Crowd Surfing. And then Thursday, we got the big top 10 games we played as a teenager. Ooh. And Friday is where the Q&As are now. So, and Q&As will no longer be just me. They might be just me occasionally, but they'll now be group Q&As, so you have a chance to ask more questions. So, I guess I should have put that in the announcement part. But anyway, I hope you enjoy all that stuff. I hope you enjoyed breakfast. Until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Roy Kennedy.
And I'm Joey Evans.
Marvel's better than DC.
It's not true.
Still dead.
It's not true.
Marvel's better than DC.
It's not true.